like to call this meeting in order of the Geneva Historic Preservation Commission for Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. We'll start with a roll call.
Jensen?
Here.
McManus?
Here.
Phillips?
Here.
Solomon?
Here.
Stazen?
Here.
Tobler?
Here.
Zelmer?
Here. Great, we have a quorum. Okay, next on our agenda is the approval of meeting minutes for March 18th, 2025. Any comments about the meeting minutes? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second? Okay. And just call the roll.
Jensen?
Aye.
McManus?
Aye.
Phillips?
Aye.
Solomon?
Aye.
Stazen?
Abstain.
Tobler?
Aye.
Zelmer?
Aye. Motion passes. Next, we have a review of building permit applications, 413 South River Street, replacement of flagstone patio with bluestone, 2025-17.
Hello, everyone. The mic's okay. My name is Jessie Muncy. I'm the assistant planner here, and I'll give a brief presentation of the application and the history of the property, and the applicants can explain more about their request. So this is 413 South River Lane. Oops, sorry. Oh my gosh.
That was quick.
I know, we're done. No. And so there's two permit applications here. Firstly, case number 2025-17, permit review for replacement of a flagstone patio with bluestone. And then permit number 2025-19 is permit review for replacement of 4 historic windows. But first, we will look at the site and the history of the site. So there it is. Brief history. In 1931, the house is constructed by August Wilson and his son. The house is completed by G.W. Chamberlain, the assistant superintendent for ComEd, in 1932. It was leased as Robbins Bookshop in 1937, and then 10 years later, there was an addition to the bookshop. Then, in 1952, the bookshop relocated to 220 to 228 South 3rd Street, and the house was reverted to a single-family residence. And those are the two pictures from the 1999 survey that we have. They're kind of oversaturated, undersaturated. They're kind of hard to see, but that's what we have. So. And then a little bit of the building permit history for this property, just to show that neither the patio nor the 4 front windows were, that we have any permitted work for those. So pre-1999, there was a garage addition. There was no permit date given for that. In 94, there was a new fence. In 98, there was an exterior remodel and reconstruction, but that did not include the patio or the 4 western facade windows that are in question today. In 2016 and 2019, there were interior remodels. In 2019, a new fence in the rear yard. And in 2020, a replacement of the existing asphalt driveway. These are 2025 images of the property. And then we have the case of...
Do we want to discuss this one first, and then we'll, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, so that's just the history, and then we'll
Okay.
show this case, and then end it, and then the applicant can speak, and then you guys can discuss.
Great.
Yeah. So, flagstone patio at Bluestone. There on their platted survey is also the walkway highlighted, but that is not in the purview of this commission today. That is an administrative approval or review. And they also would like to replace that with bluestone to match with the patio. These are some images of the damage to the existing flagstone and the unevenness and sinking that exists. And then this is what they propose to do. So now it's time to discuss. And if you guys want to come to the front, and there's a little clicker that, or a red dot you can use, and then just go left and right to move the slides.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike O'Keefe. This is my wife, Marie O'Keefe. You want to do the clicker?
Sure.
So we're talking stone first?
Stone first.
Okay. So as you can see, it's collapsing. Our whole porch, our parents are elderly. They've tripped on it. We've had postal carriers trip on it. Yeah, especially that one spot on the bottom left, which is dead center on the top left. And we have a real problem with chipmunks burrowing holes in there, and we've tried everything. We've called companies out. We backfill it after they go. We've tried everything to stop them. You just can't. And I think that's what's causing a lot of that damage. And the stone itself flakes a lot, which happens in flagstone, so you get uneven steps, and people tend to trip on that. And with our elderly parents and cousins, we've been having a lot of problems with that. So when we got the walkway approved, we didn't want to start with the walkway till we knew we could do the patio, because we wanted it to match. And the picture the landscaper gave us was not the best picture. My wife brought a couple more that might give you a better idea, because that's just computer generated, and I have a sample of the stone if anybody wants to see it.
I'd like to see it.
I would like
Oh,
to see
sure.
it. Yeah.
I think we all want to see it.
It's Pennsylvania bluestone, and it's,
You can see the browns come out.
Yeah.
It's pretty heavy.
Oh, it is, okay. Yeah, it's a nice, that looks,
Yeah,
You
we don't
could-
have the problem with it inflating.
I don't think I want to.
Just to give you an
Yeah,
idea.
it is really heavy. It's pretty.
I wanted to
So
go
it'll
with
have
a natural
this type
stone,
of
since we're
relief
replacing a
on-
natural
will.
stone.
It
Cleft,
will.
I guess they call
Right,
it.
which
Okay.
isn't as predominant as normal flagstone,
Right.
so it's not, it's.
We're good.
Yeah,
You're good?
I get
Right.
it. I just want to make sure, yeah.
The rendering is a little too uniform, and it looks fake to me. I want it to look natural, so I brought the actual photos that the landscaper said that he would use when applying.
Yeah,
We didn't want to use pavers because we want to keep the natural stone look, because the house is natural stone. Pavers would have been man-made. We didn't want to go flagstone again because we're having issues all over the house running back with the flagstone. And the grout lines for the flagstone is where the chipmunks get in mostly, where these grout lines will be much tighter, and they'll be butted up to each other. So we won't have that issue as much, and he's putting a heavier stone base in.
questions or comments from the commission?
I have a question. Just, can you talk a little bit about the administrative approval of did you approve that style and that actual stone, or how does that work?
The review matrix does not require walkways to come to the HPC for review, so we did approve the walkways administratively with that flagstone.
Okay.
What size of material are we, is it 8 by 8 like that?
No,
shown?
they're gonna be bigger, they're gonna be more like that, they're all gonna be different sizes.
Oh,
But
okay.
they're,
It'll look more like.
More like that,
Right.
so
Right.
that, and there is a variation in.
right, it
color.
won't all be
It
all
won't-
12 by 12s or anything like that.
Okay,
There's 6 different sizes, and then it'll just be whatever the natural variations are in the stone coloring, but it'll look primarily, this is what I told him I want it to look like, and this is work that they've done at other properties, so I know that they can do it. But there's 6 sizes total that they'll be using.
So they'll have more earth tone colors in
Yeah.
it than not just blue or grays?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
that's good.
With the house being the color, the stone on the home being the color that it is, I told them I need them to skew, it has to match.
Yeah.
So I want them to skew those earth tones so that it feels organic, which is the goal.
And there are 2 other homes on our block that have the same stone walkways going to lighter houses.
It looks nice.
So is the flagstone original to the house that it was built?
No, the flagstone's not original to the house. I couldn't tell you when.
Okay.
When that work was done, but no one seems to think that it was original.
I was just curious if, if it was,
Yeah.
could it be repurposed for something else? You had me at safety, I mean, I like the,
Right, yeah, the safety, that's what triggered this whole thing, because we started with just doing the windows this year.
Right.
And then after people were tripping and getting hurt and the postal carrier fell, I'm like, all right, we gotta fix this.
I was just curious.
And then I didn't know we had to come for approval for this, so we actually went out of town for 2 weeks and had the landscaper set up to do it, start the work, and that's when I got told we could just do the walkways and not the porch. And then, so we put everything on hold.
I don't think it would look right if the walkway didn't match the porch, given the way it butts up against it.
Go ahead, Joe.
I don't have any questions, because in our packet it says that staff cannot state for certain if the material is historic or not. And also it meets the standards and the design guides, so I don't have any questions.
Same.
George, anything?
I still have one question.
You've used your question. No.
Jeez, I could probably leave right now then.
Yeah.
The step going up to the patio and the threshold to the front door, are you keeping those as limestone or whatever that currently is?
No, we're gonna, the step going into the house is a stone base, and I have the level on one of the pictures showing that the front end of that is sinking too. So it's still gonna be doing that, but they're gonna do like a limestone trim on the front of it, so you can identify the step, like it doesn't all blend in, and
Right.
maybe it's dark and someone can't see the step. And he's gonna add a couple lights too.
Yeah, because your rendering shows it, I think, like the.
Yeah, like
Right.
it, you can just keep walking, right? So that wasn't a good rendering.
Well, I mean, the rendering also shows at the wall to leave that as.
Oh, no, yeah,
That is not, that's gonna go with the blue
it's all
stone.
gonna go, right?
Okay,
So there'll be a capstone of blue
Correct.
stone on that
Correct.
limestone there?
yeah,
Okay.
I don't, does anyone have any issues per se? I mean, it's a natural material.
Yep.
I think that it,
Appropriate.
yeah, it's appropriate. And
Do you have any other use for those flagstones? I know you have a lot in the back, but
We don't. If you want them, you can have them. We got the.
not why I asked.
The
but-
side of our house has a bunch stacked up from whenever, like even when we got the house, so we got probably 50 of them on the side of the house just sitting there too.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
Sure. I move to approve the permit application for the property at 413 South River Lane as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Jensen,
Aye.
McManus,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Solomon,
Aye.
Stazen,
Aye.
Tobler,
Aye.
Zelmer.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay.
All right, that's great.
Next.
On to the next application for a replacement of 4 historic windows. So these are the 4 windows. They are numbered using Anderson's window numbering system. I don't exactly know why they number them that way, but it doesn't quite matter.
They start with the first window to the right and they call that 1, so 101, 102, like they number every window of the house when they come in.
Gotcha.
And that's how they got that number system.
Gotcha, thank you. So, there you go. And these are the dimension comparisons between Anderson's windows and the original windows. So, if you look at the top of the original windows are a wood interior and wood exterior, single pane and double hung. Original 6 light panes per sash, 2:3 ratio. If you look down at the new ones are not wood, they are RBI Fibrex, which is a wood composite, and double pane instead of a single pane for energy efficiency, and double hung as the original are double hung. They have the same panes per sash as the original, and then basically the same dimensions, sash dimensions, and glass area per sash. Then the applicant got estimates for the repair and then also the replacement. The total replacement cost from Anderson is $10,058. The total repair cost estimated is $9,470. That does not take into account if the repair window roper finds additional damage when they do take them off, or additional damage occurs. It's not exactly known what might, if the cost would increase with that. And then going forward, I have a lot of pictures of all the windows, so we can go back and forth between those. So it's set up as in the staff report, so all the windows per window, and then you jump through those, and then it goes to the Anderson windows, and then to the repair estimate. And then this is for the work that's not in the purview of the HPC at the rear of the home. Just for context, they're having other windows done as well, and patio doors. And And that's what those look like, if you're curious. So now we can take it to the applicant.
Okay, so we went through a lot of trouble to be as close to historical as we could. We went through a lot of companies, we had a lot of bids put out. Renewal by Anderson was the only one. They're rated in Chicago to do all the historical areas of Chicago. These windows here, it's gonna be identical to what I have, and it's 40% wood still in it, but the crosses, everything's gonna be identical to what I have that you see now. There'll be no difference whatsoever. The trim, the original trim will still stay in. So there's a pocket window that's gonna go in, and the original trim will still be around it. So it's basically just the glass and the crosses that are coming out of the old one, and then we're getting the double pane window, where now we have the single pane window. Two of the windows are missing storm windows, so if it snows and it's blowing, like, we'll get snow in our house, like we get insects in our house, it's a mess. We're always putting towels on the ledge, even where the storm windows are, because of the stone, nothing sits flat. So over the years, I think people caulked and just painted everything there and kept doing it. The top of those windows, none of them open up. So that's why the guy that put the bid to refurbish it, he's like, that was the base bid. He's like, it's gonna get a lot more expensive because I gotta steam these open and to see if I can even get them open. All the ropes are painted, and he's like, and the window doesn't fit in the frame. It has 1-inch play. You can do this in the window. So even if he sands it down and refurbishes it, you're still gonna have that play. And it's never gonna seal. The sun sets, that's facing west, so the sun sets facing, shooting the sun in there. Everything's faded. So this was the best thing we can come up with after going to all the companies, and the closest we could, historical as we could.
Does the window, the lights that are shown there, can you bring that a little closer?
Absolutely.
Jim? Should wore my
Quite a
glasses
sample
today.
they gave me, isn't it?
It is quite the sample, yeah, okay. See, these are not, those are in the glass, and not, you know, there's a,
Yeah, so those will be in the glass.
yeah.
And it'll be the same amount of paint
Yeah.
as in there now.
Yeah, I'm not, I think the trouble that I have with this case is that I don't disagree that the windows probably need to be replaced. I don't know whether whether anyone, does anyone have an opinion about that specifically, whether?
Well, I think that my thought is, what was the repair gonna be? Like, what was the, what were the
Well,
scope of the?
He
repair?
doesn't know on the top, because when he starts breaking that out, because it's been painted together for so long, like, anytime you do stuff, pieces of wood flake off and come off, so
I mean,
that's
like-
never been open, so he's afraid the damage of the frame and everything. And keep in, I went by the list I got from you guys on calling these people. I would say over half never even returned my call. Most wouldn't do the job, just had me send pictures, didn't call me. I was only able to get one guy out. And I went through your guys' list. I didn't call any of the out-of-state people, because I didn't have time. What's that? Yeah, and the lead paint they're very worried about too, because they're saying anything older than 1950, it's like 90-something% lead, were some of the numbers they gave me. So they would have to block off my house, the inside of my house.
Right. And did they include that handling of the lead paint
No.
as part of their estimate?
They gave me the base. They didn't want to speculate, I guess.
Have you tested it yourself to see if,
No.
I mean, that black paint there
The black paint's newer.
is newer, so
Yes.
that doesn't have lead, but you're not sure what's underneath there.
Right, there's layers, because we had a carpenter just open up these windows for us to see if we can even get them open, and there's layers.
What, go ahead.
So I don't know if that black paint is not lead-based paint, it's basically, is that considered to be encapsulating whatever's underneath potentially?
Well, if you were to repair it, I think that you'd probably have to take the paint off.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to get down to bare wood to do that. I guess that's the first question I would have is are they, should they be salvaged, should they be repaired? And then if they cannot be repaired economically, should they, what type of window should replace that window?
Well, I think the cost of it was, at least the estimate that you have, which you said was difficult to achieve in the first place, is comparable to the cost of replacement. So that's the other thing is, it's part of our standards of that we're comparing the cost of retaining the original, which is kind of our end game here, is to make sure that we can keep as many original materials as we possibly can, not torturing a homeowner and making them have terrible windows for the rest of their lives too. You know, you go and do repairs on something that isn't, you know, of a decent quality in the first place. I don't know how that plays out. So I think there's sort of an unknown here in the repair, because it feels like we don't know what the outcome would be.
Right, and especially if he hasn't included all of his potential costs. I mean,
Exactly.
you know, his name's Window Roper, so I'm assuming that, you know, putting new ropes in and fixing that side of the window is probably included. He doesn't say that it's not included.
Right, he didn't.
I don't know whether he considered, you know, lead paint and that issue or not.
Well, he considered the lead paint because he said I would have to tarp off the inside of your house.
So that's included in the price.
Well, no, what he did is, he goes, this is the very base. Like, he's like, if I didn't have to do anything else and I just took these out and refinished them, first of all, they still wouldn't fit in the frames correctly. With all that play in that window, you can take one side of my windows and do this to them.
So he's gonna repair something, but he's telling you that it's not gonna be,
Right. He wasn't
Right.
encouraging. He wasn't encouraging, and he was making sure that he wasn't liable for anything. He wasn't guaranteeing anything, put it that way.
That's
Because
a lot of
I
money.
tried to clean, like I asked, can I, because I can't clean the windows because you can't get.
Could you step up to the podium when you speak, so you get
I'm
the,
sorry. Yeah, so I asked him, I said, one of my biggest issues is we can never clean the windows, because you can't get to the other side of the window. And so he said, well, these were supposed to come down, the top part is supposed to come down where you can get your hand in to clean them. But he said even once he repairs the windows, that is never going to be a functioning window in the way that it was intended. And so I think what you're saying is that he gave us a base price to get to the bare minimum repair, but it's never going to be a properly functioning window. And he doesn't know what he doesn't know until he starts getting in there and digging around to see what else would need to be repaired.
And the two storm windows we do have and the two screen windows are not original to the house. So they're very recent. So even if we were able to restore these and make them perfect how they are, what's in front of them, what you're going to see driving by, was probably made 5 years ago. And that's all you're going to see. You're never going to see the window.
And there's a fifth window that faces the street. I'm not sure, I have my, here, do I have a clicker? So there is a fifth window that's to the right of 104, and that is on a bathroom. Yep,
There,
yep.
where
right
the white
there.
is?
Where the white is.
That's a Pella window.
That's a Pella window that's about 10 years old. We moved into the home in 2019, so the first thing we did is we went to the Historical Society and we got the history of the home. And so that Pella window was installed about 10 years ago. So it is a little inconsistent to begin with in terms of original versus what they've added on over the years also. So I'm trying to, I bought the house because, how can you not love this house? And so I'm trying to get it back to where it's functional, but also like, it's really important to me that we keep the original aesthetic because I think it matters, quite frankly.
well, I think that's where we're at too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's why we
I
struggle
get
with
it.
like, you know, saying, yes, go ahead and replace these original windows that are almost 100 years old.
Right,
Um,
right.
And, we don't often get, I'll call it viable at this point, estimates for window repair. because it is difficult. You call a lot of people, they don't return your calls, that happens a lot.
I've got a question. Could we go back to the elevation, please, and the numbering system? What is the status? There are other windows that are visible from the street, which is part of our purview, which by this system would be 32, 33. And I don't know about the dormer windows. Were they even assigned a number? Because it looks like 101, 2, and 3 would be on the right.
Maybe they
But
start with the number 2.
Pardon?
I said maybe they start with the number 2.
Yeah, but I don't know what happened to the 2 dormer, but irrelevant of the numbering system, what is the condition of all those other windows?
Not good, but they're easier to work with because they're just single latch and you pull them up.
So
and
they're
much
casement,
smaller,
not
yeah.
double hungs?
Right. So they're not ideal,
Okay,
But you're not replacing those now?
right, and we can tolerate those. We
Yeah.
can manage them and maintain them
Okay.
a lot easier.
Are those original too?
I would think so, but I don't know.
Okay.
But they're a much more simpler window. It's just a latch and it opens. But everything you see now is either a screen that was made recently or a storm window that was made recently. You're not even seeing the windows. And the little bit of frame you could see is gonna stay. That's original.
and speaking for myself, not any of my colleagues, this is something that I've struggled with as long as I've been on this commission, and I think to some degree we all have, is the effort is to save the original materials if salvageable. So since we have a repair bill, the thing, I'm speaking out loud here to try to think through this with you.
Sure.
But since we have a repair bill, regardless of what extent it is, that would be some indication to the commission that there is a potential for repair. And if our goal is to salvage the original materials, and price, as Lisa already indicated, the whole idea, I think as stated, is reasonable cost for repair versus not the cheapest solution so we've got something that's close, that maybe it not be all-inclusive, that does give us a chance for some kind of salvageability versus direct elimination. I think I felt a little bit of this with my fellow commissioners, but this is certainly where I am right now. The case itself, so that the only estimate though on the repair was just for the sash, not for any of the case or trim, because you said there's a gap in there. You could
He's not
fudge
touching
the
the trim.
sash to increase that if you were using the same case on there, but, and it doesn't help you at all, but this is the same quandary that we have on several of other of these cases that have come before us to try to save as much as possible, and get a win-win out of it. And I don't think I've asked or answered a question. But this, I think, is where I am personally, and picking up from fellow commissioners, that this might be our reluctance at this point in time.
Just to kind of piggyback on that thought too, we've been talking about this estimate that doesn't seem to include all the pitfalls of doing the work, because you don't want to start the process of restoring a window and have the person that's doing the restoring not confident in the process and not confident in the outcome. I think that's important here, so we have a number, it's in front of us, but is that real, you know? I would feel better if there was some sort of I don't know if I'm looking for something that's written, something that the contractor can come forward and say, this is a number, but this isn't taking into consideration, you know, the fact that this may not work out, the fact that, you know, we have other costs at play here that aren't included in this number, and, you know, the thought of, you know, managing lead paint and its disposal. So I feel like there's more here than just what's being represented on this screen. And that might make us feel a little bit better about pivoting to a new window.
If I could chime in, I think, you know, don't take this the wrong way, but I think kind of him giving you the lowball price actually hurt your
It hurts you,
case.
yes.
Yes, it does.
Because, you know, as it brought up there is that, you know, usually the window repairs come into much more detail. And once again, then you come into the play of like hazmat disposal, if that is lead paint.
Yeah,
And that can be ungodly expensive.
oh, yeah.
And, you know, like I think everything's saying, as Lisa said too, is that, you know, if we have a window that's gonna cost $1,000 to replace, but it's gonna cost $5,000 to restore,
It's,
we get it, you know, we're homeowners too.
And let me just say, we agree with you guys 100% on that. If we called 10 of those contractors and all 10 called and showed up and said, we can do this, we'd love to do it, even if it costs a little more than this, it would be done. But the fact that these contractors won't even call back, you can charge a lot of money and are refusing to even do the job.
The ones that did call back were.
And then the ones that had to send pictures don't even call us back, like, tells me at least that they know this job's bigger than they think it is and they don't want to deal with it.
Can you go back to Window Roper and ask him to, you know, maybe provide a little bit more detail on some of these things?
Lowball price.
Yeah.
Right,
don't
well,
give-
then he's
or
gonna
at
come back
least-
on the flip side, he's gonna come back at $6,000 a window. This window we picked out.
Well, if
for the
that's what he
record,
thinks,
Yeah,
that's,
he needs to
that's
provide
what
an
we
accurate
we need to
estimate.
know.
or at least, I guess, the other thing that I would say is, I'd like to have a number on it, but at least, right now, I don't, was there information saying that this was a limited, that on his estimate, that it was limited to just not a complete project?
Well, this was all verbal, and for the record between us, like, I don't have a ton of faith in this guy anyhow.
Okay.
Like, he didn't bring a camera or have his phone on him, and I took the pictures and had to send them to him when he was
Sure.
at my house.
Yeah,
So he didn't, so,
yeah, he did do quite a write-up on the top sash, bottom sash, on the estimate that I
Yeah.
see here.
Yeah,
So, I mean, but it's concerning that we don't have a complete picture of this to start with. And that's and I'm not prejudging, but I'm tending towards that I don't have a problem with replacing the window. I would rather have, I would really like to have more of a complete estimate from him, or at least stating that I didn't have this, this, and this within
right.
on his letterhead, saying I didn't include, you know, the opening up of the, you know, the lead paint removal, the
The
problems
ropes and
that
the-
are probably gonna show up. And that this, even when it is refurbished, it's still not going to, I guess he said verbally, it's still not gonna work, right?
well, he can't guarantee it.
He can't guarantee that it'll work.
Right.
So if that were in writing from him, I'd feel more comfortable at least saying, well, you do need new windows there. I guess that's where I'm kind
Is
of
he-
landing on that.
Is he the person that's selling you the replacement windows?
No, this is one of your guys' contractors.
It was a list that
Right.
Jesse had sent us.
Right,
with
and
the- Yeah.
He's not easy to deal with, like I said, no one else will even contact us, so if I gotta, I mean, I don't even know if I can go back and get it, like, he didn't seem thrilled about doing the job. I didn't feel thrilled about using him to do the job. So
And I guess when we saw that, we were about $500, because I read in the paperwork exactly what we're saying here, which is if the cost to repair is much more than it would be to replace, we tend to err on the side of replace, or some version of that in the
Yeah.
paperwork. And so I think when we saw the $500 gap there, knowing that there was a lot we don't know. There's a lot we don't know until they start getting in there to do the repairs, that we made the assumption, or at least I made the assumption, that, that we would be at or above replacement cost. And
It's
so.
gonna be well above a replacement
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah, it's
think-
just
And this is
easier
the
for
most-
us if we have, because based on what we have right now, for me, it would be hard to approve the replacement of
Yes.
that. You know, fully understanding that, you know, your repair estimate might not be complete, but I would suggest you try to go back to him and get that information. And if you can't, then, you know, that's information for us to use also in
Yeah.
terms of
Yeah.
deciding.
Yeah, because if he doesn't want to touch it, that kind of brings up a good point to it also. But we would feel more comfortable approving the replacement of windows if that were the case. Now, that doesn't mean that we would approve the replacement window that you have presented here either. Because I think that our window policy is that if it was originally a wood window, it would have to come back as a wood window. It would not be acceptable to use a Fibrex window. So, and I know that you can get, I know Pella Architect Series come in a wood window, and the other problem I have specifically with that window is that there are no external moles on that, and there are external mullions on the current windows that you have.
That aren't original. The hardware on the existing windows is not original.
Well, maybe not the hardware, but the
grills,
mullion,
the-
the grills.
the muntins
The
on
muntins, the muntins are original.
Right.
And they are true divided light. What we've approved in the past is not a true divided light, but a grill that's on the front and on the back with interstitial, with what is shown on that window, which is something in between the glass to make it look like it's complete all the way through. So that's the difficulty I had, and I was trying to get to the point where we could say to, whether I could get the feeling for the commission, whether we could replace the windows, but we would want to see a certain type of window as the replacement. Because our window policy is, if it was a wood window to start with, you have to come back with a wood window. Now, if it were on the back, it's a different story. It's not from the Fibrex window in the back is fine. We have no issues with that. But on the ones that are visible from the street, that's what we would be looking for to approve. Does everyone on the commission kind of agree
Concur.
with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
But, in addition, if those windows are 100 years old, there are actually 12 panes of glass in those, right? It's not a single.
It's not a single-
100 years ago, I don't think they did something to resemble,
No.
and
no.
it was to cut down on the glass area.
Yeah, exactly.
Because floating glass was, it was easier to make little panes than one big pane. And then over the years, the evolution, as I understand it, was to simulate that look. Because then the glass was bigger and you could use divisions that were pretty much aesthetic and care. But do you know if those are, if there's 12 panes of glass in those
He
windows?
did not mention that either way.
It
so.
looks like, just from
You
the,
should be able to tell.
I
'cause
think
they're-
you-
I
if
mean, they
look at the
don't move.
glass-
You
Yeah.
can't like put your
Yeah.
hand on one pane and wiggle it up and
Yeah.
down. I mean, that might just be the
No,
paint,
no,
but.
we're not advocating going back to that, but.
No,
but,
and-
the character of, and you can see that if you look at those compared to the photo, the character is a little different because the shade and shadow and reveal of the muttons, whatever.
yeah.
I mean, I think that provides a more modern look.
Right, yeah. So aesthetically, it's, there is some differentiation there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would agree that the character could be, if a replacement was warranted, the character could be more in keeping with the original.
And I believe we, in the past, this commission has approved replacement windows that are wood on the front, that have one pane of glass that's insulated glass with buttons on the outside and buttons on the inside and the spacers in between.
Sure.
And you generally ask for a spacer to be a black spacer like that, so it doesn't catch the light of a silver spacer.
Correct.
And that sort of thing. So, I don't know
How
how
would
we.
someone know this when they're purchasing windows in a historical district, that that's what you guys
Well,
require?
you have to get I assume that you met with, did they meet with you guys regarding this?
Because this is things I could have did with the window company prior to even showing up at the
Well,
meeting, and
So-
came with different options.
So we had a form, we used the form for this?
I did send the applicants the window forms on our website. I did call
Okay.
them multiple times.
And I
Right.
could have missed it. I mean, there was a lot. You did wonderful.
Thank you, and I'm not well-versed in historic
Okay,
terminology,
sure.
so,
Right.
with a proper historic planner, maybe this wouldn't have been missed. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Well,
you did a wonderful job with your application. It was very
Well,
detailed.
I had a lot of help, a lot of help.
The picture, so let's not lose sight of that as
Thank you.
well.
Yeah, and that's
I
where-
mean, it was probably one of our better window applications, and I know that it's confusing, and it's asking for a lot of information, but you did a wonderful job supplying us with that information, and there's a lot of technical terms that go along with the window that the average person isn't going to know, or isn't going to know what to look for or to ask. So kudos to you guys for reaching out to the historical window people and trying to get them to your house. I mean, that is commendable for you, that you did that, because often we don't even get that estimate. So thank you for doing that. Now if we can come to a resolution so that you're happy, we're happy, the historic district is happy, that would be great. But thank you for doing that. But because they're original, we need to stick to our standards and our design guidelines. And right now, what you submitted doesn't match with our standards or guidelines. So we need to make some changes in the proposal and the application so that it more closely matches to what we need to approve. But thank you for your time and effort and what you did, and for preserving the house and coming before us.
Thank you.
You know, and just, understand too, that in many cases where we'll have, well, let's say the whole house is replacing windows, that it is not uncommon with with the contractors that are used to doing business down here in the Geneva Historic District, well, they'll come and say, okay, so now the windows on this side, and the back, we can do whatever the heck you want. But the ones on the front, we've got to do with the exposed grill, it's got to be the architecture series, Pella, wood and wood, and, follow, the rules. But, and as you're doing in the back of the house, it's knock yourself out. So, and then the cost factor of the new windows, it's kind of taken into account. I said, okay, we're going to save some back here, but we're going to have to step up on the front of the house because that's the rules of the road. And so that's, in presentations, that's not uncommon, especially with the window contractors that have dealt in, Geneva and other historic, communities, so.
Well, I would think Anderson as well would have something very similar.
Oh, I would think so
It's not
too.
unique to
Yeah.
Pella.
It's not unique to
This was the
Pella.
closest they can come up with, and we had Pella, we had different companies out, and this
They
was the
could-
closest we can come to
Really?
looking
They
at
didn't
what we
have a
have.
wood,
I'm
they
sure
don't
they have a
have a
wood
wood
window,
sash? Yeah.
but this
Okay.
is the closest
To the.
to the aesthetics of the house
In the fiberglass.
and the
Yeah.
fiber racks.
Oh,
right.
And it's their
Yeah.
most expensive window, like, we weren't going
Right.
cheap on this, we're
Yeah.
Well,
paying more
I-
to make it look like it.
Oh, no, I mean, I think that, I'm not saying that, but I am an architect, and I know Pella has a wood-on-wood window, a wood window with a and it's in my house, actually. I have those Pella windows in my house, so, but Marvin makes a window like that
Yeah,
too.
I was at the Marvin factory and
Yeah, in
they do
Minnesota,
a lot of
Stillwater.
historic
Well, yeah, I'm sure everybody has a
restorations.
wooden window, but we thought this looks we don't love the painting because you can see how crappy it looks over time.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it look better. This is more maintenance-free.
I agree.
It's gonna have the same look. And I mean, this is what happens. We live on this nice neighborhood and, I mean, you drive down River Road and a lot of the houses look deteriorated and don't look upkept. And we're trying to upkeep it and keep you guys happy and make our life a little bit easier.
That is a catch-20.
I know it is. I know.
Historic.
Clearly, I'm learning that.
Where the,
I'm learning that.
don't get me started on that one, but yeah.
Well, I think that kind of the takeaway is that, you know, we need more detail for your own possible benefit on the restoration of the windows, taking into account all the things that were not included, that probably will need to be included. It should be in more detail, you know, so we can assess.
If I can get it.
And is
Right.
that where,
If I can
is
get
that
it.
where we're
If
netting
you
out?
can
I'm
get it.
sorry, I'm just a
Right.
little
Well,
confused.
Well,
Our
no, I
statement-
so
I mean, I
there's two
spent a
things
month
happening.
already
Right.
working on this to get one guy out. I don't have another 6 months to
A
wait for
statement
contractors.
to your, that you could not get it, I think from my perspective, would be equally as acceptable.
Right.
Correct.
And what you need to do then is to plan for us also accepting the replacement window that would be appropriate in district, which is a wood window, with the mullions.
With the
and-
mullions that I
And then
described.
you're gonna go back to the painting and the chipping and the peeling.
It is,
Then I'll just leave these.
That's
If I'm
what I
gonna
was
do
gonna
that.
Well, if you're
No,
gonna
we
do-
want a functioning window, and these
Well-
are warranty
Well, that's
functioning
Right,
what
but
we
it's a-
should do. Should we just leave those and then do that?
Yeah, we'll
We
just
could
leave
do
them
the-
and then
yeah.
that's what our front of our house will look like. We're trying to improve it.
Right.
We're
It's-
paying a
it's
lot of money to
Yeah.
try to improve it and,
well, the only issue is that we do have a window policy that we have in front of us for that, and that is the policy, and everyone, we,
there are these windows in the historical district on older homes facing the street.
Nothing that ran through
I don't
this
know if it was a
commission.
permit or not, but I know, I went
Well-
around. I went around looking at flagstone, I went around looking at windows. I mean, I spent months on this.
I-
Not in the tenure that I've been here, and it's been
Yeah.
a long time now. Well, what happens in the past is in the past, but the thing is that, as we was just saying too, you got two different things going on here. One, you need a more realistic restoration bid, if possible. And two, if that be the case, then it's your choice to either replace the window in kind, wood on wood, with a more modern, okay, workable, usable window, or you leave these in. That's your call.
Right, which I think we're just gonna leave these in, because I don't wanna, deal with the guy that already bid it. Like, I don't wanna get into it, but I didn't feel comfortable with them. So I don't wanna go through the homework of calling 15 more people and getting blown off and
We can
waited.
say that.
do you- can I call on the public here? Yeah, okay, go ahead, Al.
Don't mind just a second. Hi, Al Watts with Preservation Partners. We have a guy, so we own a historic building, our organization, it's the Beath House in St. Charles. And the gentleman who redid all of our storm windows, he would be capable of fixing this, and I'm pretty sure he'd get back to you. So if you want his contact information, I'm happy to give it to you. He's a great guy, he's in Aurora, so
Is it Michael Miller?
I don't know if he's on, I don't know, I haven't
If
looked at
there's
it.
an Aurora on your guys' list, I called him, because I called everybody in the area.
Is it Michael Miller?
Yeah,
Okay.
is he on that list?
No, he's not on, oh, can I just interrupt? I have also reached out to Michael Miller. Al gave me his number because I wanted to educate myself on window restoration. And he got back to me right away, and we have a time to get together to meet so that I can have a better understanding of how to restore historical windows. So he would be a great contact person if you wanted to go that route.
And we have, you know, he's given us quotes and, you know, detailed, and, you know, we've gotten the windows that he's made through an Historic Preservation Commission. So, you know, and he's gonna be fixing, some other windows in our house, as well, which we haven't applied for yet, but he's got the quotes on it, so he'd get back to you.
So it's safe to say this window's ruled out?
for those front four.
For the front, it is. It is. That is not acceptable.
So do we have permit approval then for the back of the home?
You don't need to come before us to
I'd let
approve.
Mr.
That-
DeGroot
okay.
answer
But
that
it was all
question.
lumped in under the permit, so we don't have a permit to start. Like, they were coming out in a couple of weeks, obviously, we're not gonna be back here in a couple of weeks, so we gotta reschedule everyone.
So I just want to make sure we're.
We can
okay.
break out the rest of the windows into a separate permit.
Okay.
And get that project going for you.
Okay,
While we work on these front four.
okay.
Right, yeah, I would just worry about the back for now, and then,
We'll get this
and
sorted.
then we'll
Okay,
do what we do with the front.
great.
But that's where we're standing on this. I mean, we appreciate you coming forward and
Do we want to leave this open till next month? And work with us over the next few weeks to get that information for the commission to consider?
So far, it hasn't moved that quick for us. Like, we haven't been able to get answers in between, I mean, we do work and do our own things too, so getting people out and getting prices and doing all this is very time consuming.
So I understand-
I don't think we can do it in a month, and the window people were gonna be here before that, so we're gonna have to,
So could we, when you said, I'm sorry, when you said you break it out into a separate permit, so if we were to break it into two permits and leave the front permit open while we investigate, but we would be able to proceed with the permit for the back of the home, is that kind of what you're
Right.
saying?
We can note the permit that you have on file now that it's not including the front four. And then,
when we got it,
Yeah, why don't we do that?
if you'd
Yeah.
like, we can get a motion from the commission to just continue this case to the next meeting and see if we can pull some of that information together to get the front four replaced with an appropriate window.
As long as we can proceed with the back,
Sure.
but that's fine.
And if they don't get the information, additional information on repair by the next meeting, can it
Yeah,
go beyond that, or is it just?
I think
I
it can
think
be.
for everyone's benefit, it'd be best to have a motion stipulating what you're looking for the replacement of the front four
Yeah.
because I
windows.
still don't know what you guys are looking for.
To come back at a future date.
But like, as far as these, like, it doesn't seem like this is an option, whether it's wood or
No.
not.
Well,
If there's somebody that's gonna repair it, so now I gotta just go off of one contractor that could repair it.
So let's just kind of back up here for a second and sort of think about what our response is. So the first thing is that we, for our paperwork, like Jewel was saying earlier, that we do need something for us to just kind of take that repair part and make it a full estimate, not just the sashes and not eliminating things, just to have it. And to your point, if say the person, Al, that you recommended doesn't come forth with anything, then there's a statement that said we cannot get enough information to even do that. That's important for us too, so then we can move to replacement. And then, once we get, and say that he does propose something, and then it's a full list, and it's a lot more, there's a lot more to do, and that the estimate is going to grow, and then it supports the claim of we shouldn't keep these windows and repair them, we're going to replace them. So the replacement window, though, while it may have a wood exterior, this is a warranted window with, it would be way better than an unrepaired window. I just want to make sure we understand the catalyst in doing these repairs or in replacing a window. We understand that. It's just, those are the two things that we're going to need in order to even complete anything and be able to vote on something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have Michael Miller's information if you would like to have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I know you're probably frustrated here today, just to hear this, obviously, but it's just not that window. We just need something that looks a little bit more historic. And there is a standard in what we're looking for. And it's something that's wood, but it's still a high
All
quality.
right, but the
wood.
historic window that's gonna be put in is gonna be modern, because the storm window or the screen were made 5 years ago, and that's what you are looking at right now. That's what you're gonna see. Something that was made 5 years ago. That ugliness gets eliminated and looks clean and done right this way, and makes the neighborhood look better.
The historic window, or the replacement window, will look like the window that, I don't know whether the window on the bathroom, or the one that was done in 19, what was the one on the end there?
Right, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Right, that has a man-made screen on it from 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
But that's
So
a
that
brand-
window's white. It
That-
has a black screen in front of it.
The one on the white, where the white siding is.
Yes.
That is a Pella window that was put in about 10 years ago.
That's an all-white window with
Is
just a
it-
black screen put in front of it.
okay.
So that's what you guys are seeing. Everything you see is gonna be modern or newer. You're not gonna see any of the original. Whether I refurbish it, it's still not gonna be original because I don't even have the storm windows for it or the screens.
But it probably originally had storm windows.
Yes.
I'm sure at some point it did.
Right.
I just don't, I don't have
And so,
it,
I mean, a
yeah.
storm window is just a frame with a piece of glass.
Yeah.
Right, but that's
So-
what you see.
Right, but
Right.
that's the historic part of it.
Yeah.
I
But-
mean,
but-
when that house was built, it probably had storm windows. That's what we
Sure,
see
yeah.
now, that's what you would have seen back then.
No, you're seeing now the crummy modern frames of the screens, and there is 2 storm windows in there that are useless, but they're
Right, because
modern.
the glass is broken or the sash is broken.
Right, and just because it sits on a stone that's uneven and it's been caulked 7 million times. So you just see the wooden frame of something that was done recently. You're not looking at any of the original window in any of these pictures.
What about the brick mold?
Around where?
The wood that's up against
The
the
brick
stone.
itself, up against the stone, yeah.
Yep, yeah, right there. So,
That you would still see, and
Right, so-
that's not coming out,
right, so.
not even with the new windows.
The storm window is that piece of wood, that grain, that horizontal grain
correct.
piece of wood, that does come in and out, or
Yeah.
it should.
No, that
Yeah,
does, that
yeah.
does.
And that would have been, maybe not that exact one, but something very similar or identical would have been part of the original window.
Right, but all I'm saying is if I refurbish, I use this guy and I refurbished it, it's still something modern being placed in front of the window that you're seeing. You're not gonna see.
It's restored.
That's not get restored, that's 5 years old.
The storm window is not restored, but the window itself will be restored.
Right.
That's
and you
behind
won't
the storm
see the
window.
window, but,
Right, I mean, it's like saying, okay, this is not the original glass because I've replaced the glass. I mean, that's an acceptable rehabilitation
yes,
of
there is.
an historic
Yeah.
piece of a window. The same thing with the frame, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree, but
I mean, you want to have that storm window there, even if it's got a new sash
yeah.
and new glass, because that gives you more, thermal protection. That gives you something
You
similar
need it,
to
but
a
it's gonna
double
be
pane.
modern. You're gonna be looking at something that's just man-made recently. You're not gonna
You're
look at
gonna,
historical.
the guy that repairs that storm window, he's gonna either repair the sash if he can with, consolidation or some kind of epoxy or whatever, or maybe it just needs to be cleaned up. But he's gonna put a new piece of glass in there.
But all the
Right?
wood frame, what about the wood frame on here? All that's newer. I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak up.
Isn't there a pointer?
All this is brand new. All this is 5 years old, 5, 10 years old, the screen and all that. That's the only thing you see from the street. So if I get the
Right.
window back here refurbished, you're just staring at something that's modern.
Right, but what I'm saying is that when that window was originally put in, you had the same look.
Right, and I'm
think
gonna have the same look with this.
Well, that's not the same.
that-
Well, from the street it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Listen, we're just trying to make the neighborhood look better.
Right.
Well, I
Like, it's, I mean,
understand.
that's all we were trying to do here.
well, I understand your.
If this is more what people want to look for historic, then so be it, but, I mean, we really did our homework on this, and I don't trust these contractors, nobody seems confident enough or will call us back. I don't have the time to take another couple months doing
I
this.
don't disagree with you, because I am almost ready to say you can replace the windows. If we had some sort of statement from the contractor that you did have out there saying that this isn't a complete estimate, I'd
Right.
probably vote to approve replacing the windows, but I wouldn't replace the windows with the replacement window that you've shown. And I know it's an expensive window, I know it's exactly what you want to use, but it doesn't meet the requirements of what we have for the guidelines of.
Well, if I had the requirements, I would have gave it to them, and I would have said, you gotta meet this, and I probably missed it, because Jesse was excellent at sending me everything,
Okay,
so I
But
probably
I
missed
think it's
it.
just a revised estimate, for one, revised estimate with the window and the
Yeah,
proper
and-
window, and it's either a new estimate that takes into those extra costs of whatever else is missing from the repair, or somebody to put an asterisk and say, this does not include all costs, and there could be extra costs for X, Y, Z, or you don't get a response, and you come back with us and say you ran into a brick wall, which is also a reason for replacement.
Yeah.
I'm just a little hesitant about calling this guy again, because I don't really want to deal with him. I will call him again, but I really,
Go ahead.
No, I think at this point, we'd rather have you call Mr. Miller.
Could I add something and summarize, please? So, sorry, but it seems like at this point, yeah, this window is not a go, right? So then, if we end today, then you can still do the back windows, and then if we leave it open, you can come back, try and get some information. If you feel like it's too much work, you know, you don't have to go through with that, that's okay. But if you try and get some more information, get a hard answer on how much lead paint could cost, like with the one guy who you don't trust, for example, or with the other gentleman. You could say, okay, what are all the factors? How much could this cost? Range. How much could, you know, if this part breaks when you take it off, how much would that cost? Range. If that's feasible. So that's one thing that you would need if you come back. Second thing you would also need is an estimate for new wood windows in a more similar design as the ones that exist. So the muttons, if I'm understanding correctly, in that are like simulated. They're inside.
Simulated
Yeah.
divided light.
And the
which makes them
ones-
maintenance-free and keeps us from painting them and them looking like that after one winter.
That may well be, but what the commission is looking for, I think, is them to be on the outside.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Which doesn't make them maintenance-free, and they look like that after one winter.
But-
We paint these every winter, or every year, every summer we paint this, and this is what it looks like after one season. So we're gonna put $3,000-4,000 into a window that's gonna look 100 years old and worn after next winter.
Then leave your 100-year windows in?
Well,
That's a good question.
that's
That-
where we're
that-
going,
When you
I-
say the buttons on the outside, do you mean outside
outside of the glass.
Outside of the glass.
Interior- but could they
Can you
be-
see that bottom right
Yes.
image there?
Right, so those
That
are
really shows it.
interior, so those
They're the
are
same on the
outside of the glass, but on the interior of the
Right.
home. Is that okay?
Well,
It comes through both sides.
it goes through, but this window is not a simulated divided light window. This is a true divided light window, so that is holding up the little pieces of glass. And they're actually
Each
puttied
section
in it.
is its own glass.
Each glass is its own little glass. On what we have approved in the past is a simulated divided light window that has a button on the front and a button on the back and the actual, like, in between the insulated glass, which is a common thing for a Pella wood window. That is a very common thing. So it can be done. It's not a heavy lift for them.
Yeah,
So-
and like that Pella window, that wood window is one that is used in historic districts nationwide. They
Yeah.
make it for that purpose.
Right, so is this window, though. This is in Chicago historical areas.
Well,
We haven't
that
went
is
and
not
looked at it.
Chicago.
I know you're not Chicago, but it is, and she said nationwide, so
Well,
I'm going
but-
citywide.
We're following the SOI standards. That's what, when the city of Geneva put together their historic preservation ordinance, that's what we've
Okay.
been tasked with. So we've run into this. So do we want to continue this until next month? And if, go ahead.
If I may, I think continuing it or denying it is either action's appropriate. I mean, if you denied it and stipulated your reasons for it, the applicant can come back when they're ready. Sorry, I thought it was on. You could deny it, stipulating the reasons for your denial, and then the applicant can come back to address those issues when they're ready. If you continue it, it's not a public hearing. So you don't need to continue it to a date certain. You could just leave it open and understanding the conditions that you need to come back and address to obtain approval. So I think either motion's appropriate, and I think they have the same effect. And a denial does not mean we don't wish to work with you on this issue moving forward.
I think I would just prefer to continue it, just to give you the option of getting some additional information, like we've discussed, and
I don't think
then a
the
chance to come
continuation
back
is-
to us. If you don't want to come back to us, then
Well, I think
It would
we
just
need
stop
to, we deny it as presented today, when then you come back to us with, and then we'll say why, when we're, I'm just, we should vote, right? I mean, that's where this is all coming.
Either or, we would vote on it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
would say either we're voting to continue it, or we're voting to deny it.
Right,
And it's kind of a moot point, which one is which.
right.
I mean, it doesn't, and in both of them, we would be giving, direction on how you could get to the point where if you wanted to replace the windows or came back with more information about refurbishing the windows, you could do both or either, so.
Paperwork-wise, though, isn't it more expeditious to continue it than
I
deny
would
it?
kind of,
You wouldn't have to do a reapplication if it was
yeah,
denied.
because it would still be under that permit, right?
I mean,
Would
it's, right now, we're already breaking out the rest of the windows from the
Okay.
current permit, so they can move forward with replacing the
Okay.
rest of the windows, so same difference, yeah.
Not dry.
Okay, so I have a question. So if the applicant comes back and says he tried to go the historical restoration route, didn't get any response, what window then would we approve for the replacement?
Well, we would
Can we be
approve,
specific so that he knows?
Yes.
No.
Okay,
Well, I'd have to see, I don't think we're down to a model number yet.
no, we
No,
wouldn't be,
but a
but we
description.
would approve, like I said, we have approved in the past a wood window that either Pella or Marvin, that has a simulated divided light with buttons on both sides with a divider in it. And the divider should be black, not silver, and that's been approved before. I mean, that would fly through this. And that,
Exposed mutton, though, would be the operative word, as opposed to, that could be argued
with
to be
a-
simulated.
We have it clearly articulated in our window policy, so we
Okay.
can highlight those requirements and
That's fine.
make sure the applicant has those to share with contractors.
Okay, good.
uh,
Perfect.
Manufacturers.
So it's not an option to get a hold of Anderson and show them exactly what you guys want.
oh, yeah, that's an option.
But they're scheduled to come out sooner than your next meeting, and then bring that to you.
We
I mean, I
could
can
make
even ask
it,
for another sample, I mean,
we
they've been
we
pretty
could
good
make
about.
it, we've done that in the past, condition,
Well, that-
stipulated
we'd be
on
stipulating-
staff approval.
We would be stipulating on two things, actually.
You're right,
We'd be
Yeah.
stipulating on both on the replacement and on the model that we
Right.
approve.
But we've done that in the past. If, I'm not saying we should, I'm just saying there's precedent on this commission to do that.
I think
We
it's,
still sort of need
we need the cost.
yeah.
yeah, see, that's
Yeah.
where I,
We need the cost for the repair, a better cost, preferably maybe from Mr. Miller, and cost for
We'll do
new
both,
window,
but
not
then-
that,
But the
the
right
wood,
window, yeah,
double mutton.
yep.
But then our hands are tied using one contractor.
Could we bring you both? Could we bring you
Oh,
an updated estimate?
oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, that's what
And-
we're hoping for.
Yeah, that's
And
actually,
An up of the appropriate, whatever.
that would be
Right.
perfect. I mean, that's what
But
I would
that's the next
expect to
meeting.
So that's
see.
what I'm asking, could we, I think that's what we're asking, so do we have to wait until next month's meeting, or can we supply that to Jesse or whoever is most appropriate between now and then?
David, that would be a question for you. I don't think you would be,
I mean, I think that's the will of the commission. I think I understand what you're looking for in a replacement window and an updated estimate. If they can get that to us before the May meeting, certainly willing to take a look at that.
Is it something that could we look at it via electronically, or is that something that we
I
could
mean,
do?
if the commission is going to act on it, they have to do so in an open public meeting.
Okay,
So you can either give the direction to staff to approve replacement based on a revised estimate for repair that exceeds the cost
of the replacement windows.
of a replacement window for a wood window that complies with our design guidelines.
Yeah.
I
I'd
don't know
support
about that.
that.
I'm not, I think I still want to see a viable repair cost. Because if it's $10 more than, replacement, then I'm going to say, got to repair it.
Well, and there is some nuance in that, in the repair cost of, is it repair and still operable type of thing,
Well, I'm hoping that when we get a cost for that from possibly a new contractor, that we will have the information that we need to be assured that it's gonna be an operable window, that he's covered the costs for, replacing the ropes or the weights or whatever that might need to be, and some estimate for potential lead disposal.
Right.
Yeah,
So once we see that, then we know, okay?
well, that's where I was.
And
that-
at that point in time, if the applicant brings a window that we've all been discussing that we think is definitely approvable, then that will fly right through.
Right.
But I can't approve that or just, the potential for that without seeing that repair cost.
I understand
It's
that.
it's gotta exceed the replacement cost by,
Of
some certain number, I don't know what that number is, but it,
And nobody knows what that number is, because we don't have that number.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right,
that
and I
is,
But-
could have went and got a cheap window here, and the price you got would have far exceeded that window already.
right,
So it's hard to base it off of what you have now. We went with the most expensive window on the market to replace it already, to make everybody happy.
Right, but the cost is something that we have to consider. I mean, you could have done that, but then you wouldn't have been happy,
And we wouldn't have approved your choice anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I think, what's that?
I mean, I think we
Talked in,
Yeah.
I agree, I think what,
I guess my question is, we're gonna submit exactly what you're asking for, which is a proper, an updated cost estimate through however we get it, we'll get the proper estimate. We're going to submit that. You'll see then the comparable costs, because now we're gonna cost out also a different window
Correct.
that meets your requirements. So you'll see both of those things.
Correct.
My question is, can I submit that to David and Jesse ahead of time, or are we waiting for the next meet? That's all I'm asking. at
I
this
think with the two steps that it takes, and I agree with Kevin that it's kind of like if it were a single step of like, I'm gonna go find a wood window, we don't have any problem with replacement, and I'm gonna go find a wood window that works, I would give it up to administrative approval. But since there's two steps in here, I think that it's more concerning, and there's more room for that sort of thing. So that's why I think we need to just continue it.
And it's more transparent to the public too. And,
Yeah.
whoever comes back next that wants to, do something similar with
I
a
would
historic
recommend-
window, we need to have a
Yes,
process.
And then we make a motion and vote on it, because we might not all be of
in the same place,
mind.
yes. So I guess, can I get a motion? It doesn't really matter whether it's,
Pass to Rod George.
I'll give it a shot here.
Okay.
I would like to move that we deny the application as submitted, seeking more specific information about the renovation repair of the existing for comparative purposes and submission of an all-wood window in keeping with the character described in our HPC guidelines. I would further recommend that this be submitted to staff for their approval in abeyance of a continuation to the next HPC meeting.
I'll second that.
So wait a minute.
So we're voting to deny
Wait,
is the
wait.
motion.
Well, we can still discuss this, yeah.
Okay. I was okay with where you were at until you got to the point where the administrative approval.
Right.
Because,
Well,
I
that's why I
think-
said
Yeah.
we're gonna vote on it to see. I don't think that we put a lot of time and effort in this, and I think the staff would be more than capable of expediting this situation. But,
yeah,
Did I
I'm not-
misunderstand your motion? Because I thought you were just gonna say that they were gonna submit it in
yes.
advance of the meeting so that they
No.
could review it.
no.
Oh. I
So
I'm
you're,
just
you're
gonna
you're
give them
denying,
authority.
giving them authority.
Authority to do the approval,
Oh,
okay?
There's someone clicking something. It's done quite loudly by the microphone.
That would be me.
Sorry.
Sorry. The two architects on this are clicking their pens. I guess we should vote on whether that basically states that it is seconded with the idea that it's administered.
If it's not seconded, we won't have a
Well,
vote on it.
it's already been seconded, right?
Well, Lisa, I think is
well,
gonna
can I
withdraw.
revoke my second? No, really, can I?
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Okay.
So if it doesn't, it'll die without a second.
Okay.
Okay, do we have another motion?
I will amend my motion, keeping the same points about bid analysis, comparative cost of repair, restoration, and submission of a wood window to be resubmitted to HPC for approval.
I would second that.
Jensen,
Aye.
McManus,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Solomon,
Aye.
Stazen,
Nay.
Tobler,
Aye.
Zelmer.
Aye. Motion passes.
All right, so I will call you guys tomorrow about next steps on that one.
Okay.
And insofar as the Bluestone goes, circling back to that, I will approve that tomorrow and send it to the building department, and then they'll contact you about that. And I will also let them know that we're separating the rear windows from the front windows, so they can go ahead with your building permit application for the rear windows. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
It'll still be under the same, they won't have to have another permit fee, right?
No, yeah, we'll amend the current permit to take out the front four windows.
Yeah, and if they come back with, and get approval, will they have to put another permit fee in?
We'll look into that. I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Okay,
Hopefully not.
hopefully not. Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sorry about the length.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we are on to the secretary's report, staff updates.
So, this is, you want to do this, David?
The first few. So we do have some treats available at the table by the front door, and we brought those in today because this is Commissioner Stasen's last meeting with the HPC. He chose not to be reappointed this year, and it's also Anna's last meeting with us. She also chose not to renew her contract with us. So, we thank
You
you
guys
both.
talk to each other first?
Yeah.
Traders.
We thank you both very much for your service and appreciate your time with us. I wanted to note that at the end of the last meeting, we had some discussion about a historic preservation grant program. I didn't say much at the last meeting because I didn't want to misspeak, but we do have that budgeted for the next fiscal year as a historic preservation adaptive reuse grant program. I think what was kind of discussed last month was more of just like a facade grant program, but this would allow the use of those funds for more than just a facade improvement. It could help with other costs that go into adaptive reuse, such as sprinklers, ingress, egress, and other code requirements.
Is it for residential too, or is it just commercial?
It is for the historic district, so it is a grant program in the historic
So,
district.
so
Right.
residential work, okay.
And we're hoping to fine tune the details of that program and present it to the council in the near future. Also wanted to let the commission know, we have a camp event scheduled for Friday, June 27th in the afternoon. That is put on by NAPSI. That was something that Jackie put together before she left, and she also applied for a grant. And we just received news that we received the grant for that. So kudos to Jackie, and we thank her for setting that up. And then I'll allow.
What is that, what is camp?
I'm
If
sorry,
you
CAMP
can-
is a program that the National Alliance for Preservation Commission puts on. It is an educational program. We've held one here, it's been several years now, but we held one maybe 10 years ago. And it discusses the value of preservation, and then you can select topics to dive into in more detail. One of those topics we asked to be addressed was replacement materials, because that seems to be something that has trended with the commission over the past year, and thought we could use some more education and discussion on. So we will be hosting that, but we will be inviting commissions from our neighboring communities as well.
Great.
Is that during the day?
It would be an afternoon, kind of starting around the lunch hour. But
Okay.
we'll forward all those details as we work those out.
At the library, right?
At the library, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just, before I turn it over to Jessie, I want to thank Jessie very much. She has picked up the responsibilities of the position while it remains open. She's done so very well. Really appreciate your help. And we do have a replacement coming in June. Our preferred candidate to accept the position, her name's Emily, and she'll be starting tentatively June 9th.
Does she have a last name?
Emily Stood. STOOD.
Are you gonna look her up?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why not?
All right, this is getting creepy.
As for the building permit update, 5 permits were administratively approved. One is the replacement asphalt drive with Chicago Brick Authentic. Another is replacing door at the back of property that is not visible from the right-of-way. A roof replacement, just asphalt for asphalt. Chimney replacement on a non-contributing property, and remove and replace 11 windows on a non-contributing property.
Wow. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. So, questions or comments from the commissions?
So it sounds like we need an updated window sign-off sheet like we did for the siding.
I think we have one. I think it's just a matter of getting it implemented.
Back and circular.
Hasn't there always been a roof replacement? Last time I redid my roof, I had to pull a permit.
This is still it's just administratively approved
Correct.
in the historic district.
Oh, just, this is just for historic, sorry.
Yep.
I have some questions. Are we on that question from Commissioner?
Yes, we are. I think we are.
Maybe I've asked you, David, I can't remember, but what is the status of the intensive level?
Turn on your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. What is the status of the intensive level survey update that Jackie was working on?
So she had completed it before she left. Jesse and I are trying to go through and kind of double check that work and figure out if there's any tweaks that need to be made, and then try to figure out a mapping program where we can plug it in and make it accessible to the commission for its review.
What about the updated design guidelines?
That is a draft that Jackie left us with too, and given our short staff
I
right
know,
now.
I
we're
know,
just-
and I'm so
yeah.
sorry to even ask
We're-
about that.
We're, haven't gotten to
Okay,
review that
I
yet.
just-
Yeah.
One last question. The Viking ship, 101
Yes.
Hamilton, thank you for the information on that. So I guess we'll just wait until further, if they bring it up with HBC or if they go further in
Yeah.
their request.
Yeah, I
What
think
are
there
you
was
talking
a,
about, Joel?
The Viking ship, have you read that in the paper?
No, I have not.
They purchased, the Friends of the Vikings, I
yeah,
believe
the
is the
Friends of the Viking
organization.
Ship, they purchased the property at 101 Hamilton Street and announced the acquisition of that property for the future home of the Viking ship at a council meeting, and it was reported in the paper the next day that they had spoken to the Preservation Commission, and I don't know if that was a misquote or what, but it caused some questions because they had not come before the commission. So we just sent out the email I sent out was to clarify that it does have to go through a public hearing process if they would like to demo that building or make alterations to the exterior of that building. And the museum for the ship itself would also require a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission. So
Yeah,
there was a corrected article that I think came out this week.
nice.
So they would plan to demo that building, or they don't know?
We haven't really seen any formal concepts.
Okay.
So there was some discussion about maybe repurposing a portion of it or
Sure.
demoing it. So we'll have to wait and see what they propose.
There was a permit in that, or there was a PUD put together for that back during COVID.
Not a PUD, it was just a
It was
town,
just
yeah, it's a by right townhome.
By right
development,
townhome
yeah.
development, okay.
Right.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Jewel?
No, thank you.
Okay. I just would like to thank you, George, for your time on the commission. I really enjoyed it.
I would just, I did a lot of big old buildings. I never did too much about residential historic property, so I've learned a lot in this experience. I don't know if I'd venture into another one with the knowledge I've gained, but I enjoyed working with you and the ability to give some of my experience and knowledge back to the city and to preservation. So thank all of you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. And enjoy your time in Mexico or wherever you go.
Yes. And, so, okay, with that, anything from our public?
From our biggest fan.
Al Watts, Preservation Partners. George, thank you for all you've done. I've learned a few things from you, so I appreciate it. A couple of things. Great to hear that the Geneva is considering a grant program we talked about last month. That's great. I assume since you said it in this meeting that I can talk about it to other people.
I mean, it's
Sorry.
in the city's approved budget.
Okay.
The details of that program have not been finalized, but
Okay.
the budget line is.
But
there. Yes.
that came out in that budget line has been through a.
Right, that's
meeting.
that's
Okay.
been adopted by the city council.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that. And then, but thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That's gonna make a big difference, I think, for you guys here. The camp program, I'm excited you guys are doing that. We've wanted to do that, but we never had the time to write the grant or convince our board to pay for it. So I'm glad that you guys are gonna be able to do that. Do you mind if I mention it to the other commissions, or do you wanna make the formal, invitation yourself?
I have no objection to you mentioning it to other commissions. We will, I think as the date nears, we will roll out the information more. We're happy to have your assistance getting the word out.
And if there's any possibility, to invite somebody else that's not in the commission, be great. Actually, we're members of the NAPC, so there you go. So I'd love an invitation, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Okay, so also I wanted to thank you guys. I know that was a tough one with the window. I really appreciate you guys, sticking with the policy. It's hard. I get it, and, you know, I'm glad that you guys stuck with the policy. That's a really good thing, so thank you. I'm gonna pass around a couple things. First of all, the Beath House that I mentioned earlier is celebrating its 175th birthday. So, love to have you guys come out if you'd like to. It's just a open house kind of thing. Come see what we're doing with the Beath House. And that's on May 1st. And then the other thing is, I talked to you about last time, there is a presentation we're having by a professor from University of Illinois coming out. It's on May 13th. I already know that Jewel registered for it, so I haven't seen the rest of your names on it yet, but, you know, be good to go to. And unfortunately, Paul, it's not an AIA.
I have one at home.
I can't do that for you. But I don't have quite enough, so you'll have to share a little bit, but this is what I got.
No, Al, I was planning on going for the record.
Good. So it also has all of our other upcoming events. We've got a lot of new events we're doing, some fun things at the Japanese Garden, Fabian Villa, that kind of thing. And one other thing, I can't remember if I mentioned it to you guys before. This is a, I want to say it's a secret, but since I'm going to tell you, it's not a secret. But the Nell has had a Parisian dress that was made by a designer who has 3 other of his dresses on display or in museums, and they're in the Louvre and in the Met and at a museum in Sweden. We're going to be the 4th museum to have one. We're going to have it on display. We're waiting for the case to get done. It has been refurbished. It's going to be on a mannequin. It's going to look awesome. It's also going to give you a sense of how small Nell Fabian was. Don't know for sure if we're going to be able to bring it out this year, but definitely next year. So that's something to look forward to. And if you guys get a chance to go to the Villa this year, we now have a new big touch screen that there's about 50 different things you can touch on to learn about all the different things that used to be on the property or are kind of still there. What are they? So if you've ever wondered what that bench is, that's you know, a concrete that's over there that's all by itself, you know, you can come here, you can click on the button, and it'll tell you what it is. So anyway,
Cool. That's great.
Very good.
that's what I've got.
Thank you.
Thanks.
With that, if I could get motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?